Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Come on in here and sit down with me. Get yourself something hot or cold to drink, and open your Bible up here at the table, and let's just read together today from Psalm 122. This is our third ascent psalm, and we're looking today at verse 5. Now, yesterday I said that we have the three beauties of Jerusalem. The first is unity of the heavenly perfection. The second is the destination that the gospel message takes us to. The tribes are going up, the testimony of Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. And that's what we do, right? That's our destination, going up into that heavenly perfection. And then we have number 3, which is here in verse 5, the seat of kingly power and justice. Let me read for you verse 5. For there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Now, when you think about thrones, you think about judgment because a king sits on his throne and he makes his decrees. And here we have thrones, not just one, but many. But the many really reflect the one. And so in the Old Testament, we have lots of throne scenes. We have, actually not just the Old Testament, but the entire Bible. We have lots of throne scenes. We have it in the book of the Psalms several times. We have it in Daniel chapter 7, when Daniel sees the throne of God and the one appearing like the Son of Man who comes before the one seated on that throne. We have the picture of the throne of God in the book of Ezekiel, in the very first chapter. He describes the throne of God and the one seated there. And really, in the book of Ezekiel, for the first several chapters, we have the judgments of God dispensed against the sin of the city of Jerusalem. So maybe David had that in mind. Ezekiel's judgments, of course, he wouldn't have known Ezekiel's judgments or what Ezekiel saw, but perhaps the Spirit of God inspired that in him. And then we have also, and maybe for me, I think the most beautiful one, is the one in the book of Revelation. The book of the Revelation, we have in chapter 4 and chapter 5, the most beautiful throne scenes you'll ever want to read. And there we have this, chapter 4, verse 1 in the book of Revelation. After this I looked, and behold, a door was open in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must hereafter be. So you notice in that very first verse, we have what we have here in the first verse of Psalm 122, an invitation. I was glad when they said unto me, Let us go into the house of the Lord. And immediately, this is Revelation 4:2, and immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat on the throne was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. So we have this scene in Revelation chapter 4 of the thrones, the seats that the elders sit on, which are before the throne. And so this is, I think, a prelude to, or maybe a reflection of, that's a better way to put it, what the psalmist David says here in verse 5, there are set thrones for judgment. Because what happens in Ezekiel and what happens in Daniel and what happens in Revelation, we see the throne and then we see judgment dispensed by a righteous God as he sits upon his throne. And so this is one of the 3 beauties of Jerusalem: the unity of the church in holy perfection, the destination of the gospel message where all the tribes go up into that one place, and the seat of kingly power being expressed by the one who sits upon the throne, and who, ladies and gentlemen, sits upon the throne of David? Jesus Christ, Messiah. Join me again tomorrow. We're going to look at verses 6 and 7 here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.